All right, let's jump into another deep dive. This time, we're heading back to 1963. To Africa, a continent on the verge of transformation.
Yeah.
We're taking a look at Kwame Nkrumah's Africa Must Unite, a book just bursting with passion,
Right.
and urgency.
Yeah.
And this vision that people are still debating even now.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
So you've all got the book. Hopefully you've skimmed the intro.
At least.
But we're here to dig a little deeper and
Unearth the real gem.
yeah, the hidden treasures.
Absolutely.
So what really strikes me about this book is that Nkrumah doesn't just say, hey, unity would be nice,
Yeah. He really doesn't.
It's not a suggestion.
It's not a suggestion at all. He's arguing that it's absolutely crucial for Africa to truly break free from its past and step into a future where it's independent and prosperous.
Yeah, he doesn't mince words, does he?
No.
Even the title, just the title itself, Africa Must Unite.
Yeah.
It's like a call to action.
It's a rallying cry, more than a suggestion, for sure.
Exactly. And you see that urgency right from the first page.
Oh, yeah.
He's talking about this incredible wave of nationalism that's sweeping across the continent, pushing out these colonial powers.
Like a flood.
It's like a flood that's been held back
For too long.
for too long.
Yeah.
And you can't suppress that forever, can you? This desire for freedom.
That's like a force of nature. It really is.
Right. And Nkrumah points out that the World War II particularly really exposed the hypocrisy of colonialism,
Yeah.
Here you have these powers, these colonial powers fighting for freedom and democracy.
Bureaucracy, yeah.
But they're denying those very things to the people that they rule.
It's so true. It's like these ideals, the ideals they use to justify everything.
Yeah.
They end up backfiring.
Makes you see the contradictions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it sparked a change, a massive change in how people saw things.
Yeah, across all these colonized nations.
Yeah, people started to see that freedom wasn't just some kind of a dream.
Right.
It was a right.
You're right. They could actually fight for.
And they did.
And Nkrumah was there, right on the front lines.
Last.
And he talks about Ghana's independence in 1957 with such pride.
Yes.
I mean, that was a moment that had a ripple effect across the whole continent, didn't it?
It really did. It was like a catalyst, gave other nations the courage,
Yeah.
to break free.
Absolutely. But he also makes it very clear that declaring independence, that's just the first step. It is the beginning.
Yeah.
The real work, the real challenge is what comes after.
Absolutely. Building a new society, a new economy, a new future.
And he believes that a divided Africa, it can't do that.
No, it can't do that effectively. That's when the argument for unity, I think, really takes shape.
Right.
He sees a fragmented Africa as vulnerable to what he calls neocolonialism.
Neocolonialism, we hear that term a lot these days.
We do.
But what exactly did he mean by that?
He was warning us about these sneaky ways that, former colonial powers would try to hold on to maintain control.
Even after independence.
Yeah.
Wow.
Think of economic pressure, political manipulation,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
So it's more than just getting rid of the colonizers.
Yes.
You have to dismantle the systems themselves.
Well, the systems of control.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The systems that keep former colonies dependent.
And he saw unity as the answer,
The antidote.
the antidote to this neocolonialism.
The neocolonialism.
Yeah. And he lays out all these compelling arguments for why a unified Africa would be stronger.
He does.
Better defense, more economic power, a single voice on the world stage. I can already see why his ideas resonated with so many people.
Yeah.
It's not just some abstract ideal. This is about practical, tangible benefits.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really interesting because he goes beyond just listing the benefits.
Okay.
He actually proposes a model, a concrete model
For how this could work.
for how this could work. He talks about a union of African states, a common currency, a unified military.
Okay, hold on. Now we're talking about serious change.
We are.
This isn't just symbolic unity.
Well,
This is restructuring
it's a complete overhaul.
of how the entire continent operates.
Exactly.
Wow. So let's dig into those specifics.
Okay.
What were some of his key strategies? I mean, a single African currency,
Right.
a unified military. It's hard to wrap your head around how that would even work.
It is. It wouldn't be easy.
Right.
But Nkrumah was both a visionary and a pragmatist.
Okay.
He had concrete ideas about how to overcome the challenges,
Yeah.
the logistics, the politics, even the cultural differences.
Right. I'm all ears. How did he plan to tackle something this monumental?
Well, let's start with that single currency idea.
Yeah.
You're right. It is a huge undertaking. But Nkrumah saw it as essential, to break free from that dependence on those former colonial powers. Yeah. He argued a shared currency, it would not only streamline trade within Africa, but also create a more stable system.
So it's about more than just convenience then.
It is.
It's about taking back control.
Well, their own economy.
Yeah.
Exactly. He believed a unified economic system, it would empower African nations to chart their own course financially, free from, those global markets, the ones dominated by those former colonial powers.
It's bold.
It is.
I can already imagine some pushback on that, though.
Oh, for sure.
Would individual nations really be willing to give up control?
Over their own monetary policy?
Yeah.
Well, Nkrumah acknowledges that. In fact, there's a whole chapter. He dedicates a whole chapter to these concerns.
Wow.
He argues that while, national autonomy is important to a degree,
Right.
but real economic independence, that can only happen through collective action.
It's a tricky balance, isn't it?
It is.
Unity, but not uniformity.
Exactly. And that brings us to, another complex layer, this vision, the political structure. Nkrumah was a big advocate for what's called federalism.
Okay, federalism. I'll admit, haven't cracked open a political science book in a while.
Right.
What's that mean in this context?
So basically, a system where power is shared
Okay.
between a central authority and individual states or regions.
Got it.
Nkrumah thought a strong central government, that was crucial for things like defense, foreign policy, big economic initiatives, coordinating all that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that rub some people the wrong way? I mean, these nations just fought to get rid of that external control.
Yeah.
A strong central government, I mean.
It could feel like a step backwards.
It could.
You're absolutely right. And Nkrumah was very aware of those concerns.
Okay.
Actually, there was a lot of debate within the Pan-African movement about the best way to structure a unified Africa.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Some leaders wanted a looser system, a confederation, where states keep more of their own power.
So there was a real tension there.
There was.
Between wanting unity.
But not wanting to lose that independence they just fought so hard for.
It's a dilemma. And Nkrumah, he navigates that really carefully. He argues that true unity, it can't just be symbolic.
Right.
It needs teeth. A central authority, it needs the power to make decisions.
Take action.
Yeah. For the whole continent.
So how do you square that
With
the need to respect each nation?
Well, he emphasizes that unity doesn't have to mean everyone's the same.
Okay.
He recognized the diversity of Africa, the cultures, traditions. He saw that as strength.
Not a weakness.
No.
So unity while celebrating those unique regional identities.
Yes. Working together towards those common goals.
This is making me think of that story in the book.
Oh, yeah.
Where he walks into those government buildings in Ghana after independence.
Yeah.
And they're empty.
Empty.
No books, no records.
Nothing.
Starting from scratch.
It's powerful, isn't it? That image. It speaks to that legacy of colonialism. How it stripped these nations of resources, of knowledge, of their history even. It's heartbreaking.
It is. And I think in that context, the idea of starting fresh,
Yeah.
a unified system designed by Africans for Africans.
It must have been appealing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He saw unity as a way to reclaim what had been taken,
Yeah.
to rebuild a sense of agency, self-determination.
Okay, so we've talked about the economics, the politics, but he also had some pretty radical ideas about a unified military, didn't he?
He did.
The African High Command.
Yes.
What did he have in mind there?
Well, this was definitely one of his most controversial ideas.
Yeah.
But he felt it was essential. A few reasons. First, he was worried about conflict within Africa.
Okay.
He believed a unified military could prevent those conflicts
Yeah.
and resolve them more effectively than, individual armies.
So keeping the peace.
Yes, within the continent. But he was also thinking bigger.
External threats.
Remember, this is the Cold War. Africa was becoming a battleground for influence.
Right. Between the superpowers.
Exactly. A unified military, it could be a deterrent against outside interference.
Give Africa more leverage.
Exactly. It would help prevent the continent from getting dragged into other people's conflicts. Conflicts that didn't serve their interests.
It's very pragmatic. But handing over their armies to a central authority?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a tough sell.
You're right. It was a radical proposal. And yeah, it faced a lot of resistance.
Which I guess just highlights the challenges.
It does, of turning this grand vision into a reality.
Yeah.
But Nkrumah, He believed it was necessary for true independence and security.
Okay, we focus a lot on the structure, the politics, the economy, the military. But he also talks about cultural and social unity, too.
He does.
What was he thinking there?
Well, Nkrumah was a big believer in Pan-Africanism.
Okay.
This idea that people of African descent, they share a heritage
Yeah.
and a destiny, and fostering that shared identity. That was crucial to him for a truly unified continent.
Africa is incredibly diverse, though. So many different cultures, languages.
Yeah.
How did he see those divides being bridged?
Well, he had a bunch of ideas to promote cultural exchange. He talked about, like, Pan-African educational institutions, promoting the study of African history and literature, travel between regions, easier communication.
Breaking down those barriers so people see themselves as part of a larger whole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He saw this cultural unity as the foundation for a strong, independent Africa.
Okay.
Yeah,
We've covered a lot.
we have.
His vision, the specifics, the economy, the military, a shared identity. But let's be honest, this hasn't happened yet.
No.
What are some of the obstacles that have stood in the way?
Well, there are internal challenges and external ones. Historical tensions between different groups, the legacy of colonialism,
Right.
political instability,
Right.
economic disparities. I mean, the list goes on.
And externally,
Externally, yeah, there's been pushback from those who benefit from a divided Africa.
in Africa that's dependent.
Yes. Neocolonialism, that's still a real thing.
Yep.
Powerful nations, corporations, they still exert their influence. Economic pressure, political interference.
So, achieving Nkrumah's vision, it's about more than logistics, more than political disagreements. It's about dismantling those systems of power and control.
You got it. And that's why this book, Africa Must Unite, it's still so relevant, even today.
Yeah.
It makes us confront these truths and think about the complexities of true independence and unity in a world that often pushes against it.
It's a call to action that still resonates.
It does, absolutely. And while we haven't seen his vision fully realized, his ideas have had a huge impact on the Pan-African movement, and they continue to inspire people who are working toward a more unified and empowered Africa.
So where do we go from here? What can we learn from Nkrumah, knowing what we know now about the challenges, about the complexities? What can we learn from his vision as we look to the future of the continent?
It's a big question, isn't it? Like, where do we even begin?
Yeah. What can we learn from his vision, given everything we've just talked about, all those obstacles?
Well, to me, one of the biggest things is that to reach that kind of unity, it takes more than just agreements,
Yeah.
or treaties.
Right.
It takes a whole different way of thinking. A recognition that the destinies of all these different African nations, they're all tied together.
It's moving beyond that me-first mindset
Yes.
and embracing a more, like, collective way of solving problems.
Exactly. And Nkrumah, he knew this wouldn't just happen overnight. He saw it as a process, this ongoing struggle against the forces, that want to keep Africa divided.
To keep it dependent.
Yeah, dependent.
Right.
So it's not about reaching some perfect ideal of unity.
Right.
It's about constantly striving,
Right.
for cooperation, solidarity, and that shared prosperity.
And there have been some positive steps, haven't there?
Oh, yeah.
Since Nkrumah's time. I mean, the African Union.
Right.
That's a big step.
It is a significant effort towards collaboration, integration across the continent.
And all the regional partnerships,
Yeah.
the cultural exchanges, the grassroots movements.
So many, all working to build those bridges, foster that understanding between different communities.
And those are crucial. Oh, absolutely. Because Nkrumah was right, wasn't he? About the dangers
Of neocolonialism.
of neocolonialism, of outside interference. But to truly unite, you also have to deal with those divisions, the conflicts within Africa itself.
Right.
So it's about tackling those head on, having those difficult conversations, and finding ways to build that trust
Yes.
between different groups.
Exactly. Recognizing that diversity is a strength, but it also requires compromise, finding that common ground,
Yeah.
and working together.
Towards those shared goals.
Yeah, exactly.
And Nkrumah was really big on education, wasn't he?
Huge.
As part of that process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He talked about creating this Pan-African education system.
Yeah.
That would instill a sense of shared history, shared culture, shared purpose.
In young people.
Yes, across the whole continent.
And to think about his ideas now.
In the 21st century.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this age of like instant communication, everything's so interconnected now.
Globalized world.
Yeah. Doesn't it seem like the potential for a truly unified Africa is like even greater now?
It does. It really does. And I think young people especially, they're driving that.
Yeah.
They're more connected than ever.
Yeah.
They're more aware of those challenges and more determined to change things.
So Nkrumah may not have lived to see his vision come true.
No,
But his ideas, they're still alive
they are.
in the people fighting for a more unified, prosperous, and independent Africa.
Absolutely. And that's, I think, the most amazing thing about this book.
Africa must unite.
Africa must unite.
Yeah.
It's a challenge to think critically about the past, the present, and to really imagine a future where Africa's potential, that potential for unity, can be reached.
Well, there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into Kwame Nkrumah's Africa Must Unite. It's taken us on quite a journey. Through history, through politics, through all those complexities of building a truly unified continent, we've explored his vision.
We looked at his solutions
We grappled with the challenges and the opportunities.
that are still shaping Africa's quest for unity today.
But this deep dive, it's about more than just understanding Nkrumah.
It is.
It's about making you think. What does Africa must unite mean in the 21st century? What's standing in the way? And how can we all be part of a future where Africa stands united, strong, and free?
So keep thinking about those questions.
Okay.
Keep exploring African history, politics, and culture. It's rich and it's complex.
And as Nkrumah said, the forces that unite us are intrinsic and greater than the superimposed influences that keep us apart.
Until next time, keep diving deep. Keep those minds curious.